Okay, so I would like read the first one.
Okay.
This one's Emma Eckstein.
Okay.
Though 27-year-old Emma Eckstein only sought the help of Sigmund Freud for stomach ailments and a slight depression, the famed Austrian doctor decided to unethically use the young woman in a series of experiments. How did you pronounce the name again? Freud?
Freud. He's my daddy. He's the daddy of psychology.
Freud repeatedly told Emma that she was being treated for hysteria and excessive masturbation, two habits that were then considered signs of ill mental health. In one notoriously disastrous treatment, Emma was given only cocaine and a local anesthetic before the inside of her nose was cauterized. Freud continued to treat Emma for 3 years, and exactly what his intentions were with the young woman remain unclear to this day. Your thoughts?
So, Freud was a cokehead. He really was. And, like, honestly, like, yes, he was the father of, like, psychology. Like, he was the first one to be like, oh, fucking, let's think about what we think about. But he was a cokehead. And, like, honestly, he was crazy. Like, he had, like, those theories where, like, you know that saying, like, oh, you're so anal? It stemmed from, like, Freud's fucking, like, theories that if your parents were strict on you when you were being potty trained, then you would later on become a very serious and stern person because you weren't, like, taught how, like, it's this whole ass thing.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, that's where that term, like, oh, you're so anal comes from, of, like, that Freud's, like, thing, like, his theory that, like, if your parents were, like, strict on you with potty training, like, you're going to turn into, like, a very stern and, like, disciplined adult, like, later on. But if they were, like, oh,
chill,
play with your shit, it's like, and then, like, you would be more chill. And it's, like, crazy.
So he was, like, the father of psychology or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you as a psychology major, do you think he, like, did more good than bad or vice versa? What do you think?
Well, if he's known as the father of psychology, he must have done more good, right? Well, not necessarily, actually.
Okay, so I don't know, because, like, I was telling my teacher, I was like, why do we have to fucking learn about these theories? Because, like, I don't agree with them at all. Like, the whole, like, oral fixation theory that when I was younger, I had a chubby until I was, like, 4. And if, like, my mom had taken me to Freud or, like, something like that, he'd be like, oh, it's because, like, she's replacing the feeling of a pee-pee in her mouth with that chubby. And that's something that I don't agree with. I think what Freud did for psychology was he kind of brought it into the mainstream, like, a little bit. But he definitely, like, his theories were fucking whack, first of all. And second of all, like, that shit was just, like, weird. Like, he thought of weird shit. He would, like, prescribe cocaine as, like, medicine to his patients. And then, like, one of my professors said that to some people, like, drugs really don't, like, do a lot for you. Mm-hmm. And that Freud is, like, hypothesized to be this person that, like, that's why he was, like, he would never, like, describe himself as, like, addicted to cocaine, because, like, he would just do it and then he'd just be like, cool, like, I'm gonna go on with my day.
Same.
Yeah, so, like, Freud, like, but this was, like, in a time where
science was still in its early
infancy.
infancy.
And, like, it was okay to be unethical. Like, in a sense, like, not that they were, like...
They were doing it for the sake, in quotation marks, by the way, of science.
Yeah, and it was, like, hell yeah, like, I'm gonna fucking drug this bitch constantly and, like, see what I'm gonna do with her. And, like, not that... I don't know if he ever even had an angle. Like, he was probably just, like...
He was like testing it to be like, I wonder if this does anything.
I wonder what this is gonna do.
I really like that he just kept telling Emma, you're being treated for excessive masturbation, even though that wasn't why she was there.
You know, it'd be like that sometimes.
Okay, on to the next one then. You know what? This is good. I'm liking this. We have no intro, but you know what? This is our intro now. You all know me. I'm Zero. I'm here with Milani, and I forgot what the name you wanted me to
Viviana.
There you go.
You're recording?
Yeah.
You totally like mispronounced Melanie's name.
No, I didn't.
Oh. Oh my god, I just exposed her. I'm sorry.
It's not that. It's just I always
It's
give her like
like-
random names.
Oh,
It's
Melanie.
Melanie, melatonin, or Mel.
You know, I would have preferred melatonin. Like, honestly, I want to be named after like a drug. You know?
That one makes more sense with me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
You know, it's
like,
it's on theme too.
You know what? Give me a nickname off of a drug. Is it Coke?
Same.
No, it's like
No, mine's like
meth.
mine's like Vicodin.
I'm kidding.
Wait, which one's the one that like makes you paranoid?
All of them.
All of them then.
It's all of them.
All right, next one. Electroshock therapy on children. Dr. Loretta Bender of Creedmoor Hospital in New York spent much of the 1960s subjecting young children to electroshock therapy. Dr. Bender chose her patients through an interview process which included applying a small bit of pressure to the child's head as they sat in front of a large group. Any child who moved with the pressure, asserted Dr. Bender, was showing early signs of schizophrenia. That's interesting, actually. She believed this harsh therapy to be a revolutionary treatment for those with social issues, and her contemporary peers reported that she never showed any kind of sympathy towards the children in her care. Ultimately, Dr. Bender used shock therapy on more than 100 children, the youngest of whom was only 3 years old.
You know, that's what we call in the industry fucked. That's just messed up.
Like, if it was for, like, you know, trying to solve for, like, social issues, maybe I should have done some.
No. No. That's like, yeah, what's really fucked up. Like,
But
On
it's,
the 3-year-old, though, that's...
but it's also like one of those situations too where it was like, let's fucking see what this is gonna do. Like, you know, like
these are, like, all early things. Like, again, this is still in the 1960s. That's still fairly
that's
recent.
pretty early.
Yeah.
But it's recent, but it's still like early.
We only, like, super, like, expanded our knowledge in science in, the last couple decades?
Like the last 20 years, I would say. It's one of those things where, like, not that I'm glad it happened, but it's like these things have like helped us develop a code of ethics that we use now. Like, now you would never be able to get away with that. But it's like, do you think if like that woman did it, do you think we would like look back on it now, like with, I don't know, does that make sense? That
No.
like,
well, yeah, that's how it is in journalism too. You
Yeah.
know? Like, shit like that happens. Like, when that lady like shot herself.
Oh,
like, on
yeah.
camera, like, you know, after that, like,
That
that's
was
when they were
horrifying.
like, hey, like, let's not.
let's intervene.
Yeah.
They're like, as she was dying on the news, oh, this is also a great story. Let's let the
Yeah.
B-roll keep rolling.
Yeah, and like shock therapy is still used now, but it's
Is it really? I thought it was like already deemed
'cause
unethical.
no, because it actually can help in like severe depression because
Really?
but so like the way that it's depicted in like horror movies and stuff, like the patient is like shaking and like and like that's not how you're supposed to do it. Like, it's supposed to be done, it's done a lot differently now. It's done like in a safe doctor's office, and like there's like a certain, I think like they only use certain voltages, and like it's not supposed to feel like that. You're supposed to feel like
Like
You're going
vibrations
to
almost?
you're going to sleep. That's how it's supposed to feel. You're not supposed to feel pain or anything. And that's like when a skilled doctor like has to do it. Like, and it still helps people. Like, it can like help people with like severe depression, but obviously that's not like a first resort now. Like,
Uh-huh.
back in the day, we didn't have all these medications and stuff that people could be able to take, and that's why it was just like, oh, like, you're fucked up, like, shock therapy. But now it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, let's do everything that we like can try to do, and then maybe we'll go to that.
Yeah, when I like first think of like shock therapy, like actually the first thing I think about is that one scene, like Requiem for a Dream. Like, that's why that shit terrifies me.
I think of A Clockwork Orange.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, on to the next one. Operation Midnight Climax. In the 1950s, the Central Intelligence Agency sponsored a mind control research project it dubbed Operation Midnight Climax. The purpose of the operation was to study the effects of LSD on people. I actually heard of this. I didn't know that this was what it was called, though. Anyway. And so non-consenting individuals in San Francisco and New York were lured by the CIA paid prostitutes to safe houses where they were slipped mind-altering substances like LSD, then monitored from behind one-way glass. Over the next decade, Operation Midnight Climax, is that why it's called Midnight Climax?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
Anyway, provided the government with extensive knowledge on topics such as mind-altering drugs, surveillance technology, and even sexual blackmail. Fortunately, for those unwitting test subjects, Operation Midnight Climax was shut down in 1965. So this was only like 5 years before the last terrible thing that happened that we just read. The name.
It reminds me of Operation Wetback. Like these fucking operations and their names.
Is there a whole department that
just dedicated to names?
names?
The names, they're okay guys, we need it to be as clear as possible, but also
sound clever.
Not clear.
So Operation Midnight Climax, where they hired prostitutes to drug people with LSD.
I just
sounds like a good time.
That sounds actually like a regular weekend for me. I'm just kidding. I'm a child of God.
Whatever.
I am.
I'm gonna bleep that one out. Way to expose me.
Oh, I forgot. I honestly forgot. We're doing this. It just feels like we're having a conversation.
This is gonna be an hour long. She's gonna make me listen to every time she messes up.
It's sad that this is how we actually talk. This is what we talk about.
Honestly,
on a daily, we talk about drugs and what the FBI does.
Honestly, though, this is just a regular. Honestly, why don't we have more friends?
We're we might as well get money from our conversations.
We might as well get paid for this. If we're gonna be this messed up, we might as well get something.
Go all the fucking way.
Go all the way.
But real talk, the CIA using this as blackmail, that's shady.
I mean,
but then again, they're already
you sound
shady.
surprised.
I know, honestly, they could literally be the CIA contacted aliens to have sex with Donald Trump, and that's why he's crazy.
But we wouldn't be surprised.
I would be you know what?
It makes sense.
Sounds legit. It really be that.
Oh my god. Gotta work for the CIA then. Gotta get all the feeds.
I would not be able to work for the CIA. I would be guys, you didn't hear it from me. Yeah, no, they would literally be this is top secret, bitch. You cannot sell this.
As she's saying, she's texting
texting Downey. No,
of course not.
And right after they leave, I'm on the phone. I'm bitch. Donald Trump is a robot. The Illuminati has confirmed it.
They're shut up.
They're bitch, we just fucking told you.
Anyway, on to the next one. The Monster Study. In 1939, 22 orphans living in Davenport, Iowa, became the test subjects of Wendell Johnson and Mary Tudor. I never trust anyone with the name Tudor.
Honestly, I don't trust anyone from Iowa.
Oh my god. Anyway, 2 researchers from the University of Iowa. The study was about stuttering, but it didn't go quite the way you might think. The children were separated into 2 groups. Members of one group received positive speech therapy and was consistently praised for their speech fluency. The other group received negative speech therapy, which included being belittled for any speech imperfection they happened to make. That's so sad.
Bro, that reminds me of what is it, Happy Madison, where the little kid is trying to read and he's and then Adam Sandler's today, Junior. I just imagine them doing that to little kids.
Anyway, in the end, children in the second group who spoke normally before the experiment developed speech problems that they reportedly retained for the rest of their lives. Johnson and Tudor never published the results of their study out of fear that they would be compared to human experimenters among the Nazis.
Then why did they do it in the in the first
Wait,
place?
what experiments did the Nazis do? I know some, but like, what's like?
They did like a lot of twin experiments,
Yeah.
and like if you're pregnant and like they would like I don't know punch you in the stomach and like see what
Like, did they ever do like just like psychological torture as opposed to not killing them?
I honestly like I'm embarrassed to say this, but like I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure they did, and like that's something I should know, and I'm disgusted with myself. So before you say anything, I'm already disgusted with myself. But
All I really know about that is that what's it called? The U.S. government paid a lot for their findings, right? Just so
No,
that they gave them the what's it called immunity, right? For some of the Nazis who were working on those kinds of experiments.
but I thought that like what is it like not the FDA, but like the Society of Health or whatever, like they refused to acknowledge the Nazis' findings because they were found in like an extremely unethical way, and they like refused to acknowledge them, and like that's a whole debate in itself. It's like, oh, like yeah, what the Nazis did was fucked up, but like it's still science. But it's
Yeah.
like if we say that, then it's like, yeah, like I tortured these people, but like
It was science.
it was science.
There's something you just reminded me of, but I like completely like forgot. I don't know.
I know, like, it's horrible what they did, obviously. They didn't want to be compared to the Nazi experimenters, which is the point I'm trying to reach. Does anyone know, like, if they did anything similar? Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
Did you guys ever watch Sixth Sense?
They did the altitude experiments, which is everyone knows about those. They would remove sections of like bones, muscles, and nerves, and whole ass legs,
That
like
sounds horrible.
removed at the hips, and they would like transplant it on other people. Artificial wounding and exposure to mustard gas, wounding of two limbs and treatment of one but not the other with sulfonamide antibiotics, intramuscular injection with fresh typhus, and a collection of skeletons from 112 live Jewish inmates who were killed and defleshed.
That's fucked up.
That's horrifying.
I think when, in the sense of when they were like, they didn't want to be compared to the Nazis, is in the sense of like, they knowingly did something bad.
Oh.
Like, they knew it was unethical to do, and they did it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So moral?
It was like a moral thing.
Don't
Yeah.
be a piece of shit.
That's the moral of the story.
The moral of the story is don't fucking do that. Is to treat all your patients with respect and think about what you're going to do in the long term. But I mean, like, what the Nazis did was disgusting. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
there's no like doubt about that.
mhm.
Contributions to science or not, like, there's a way to go about things.
There's a way to go about it.
And then there's a way to not go about things. And
In which case, the Nazis fit into the latter.
yeah, I think the Nazis are like.
I don't think anyone's gonna like argue against it unless
Yeah.
you're a Nazi.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, on to the next one. This one I'm sure a lot of people should know about. Project MKUltra.
I've never heard of that.
You guys haven't?
That sounds like Shubra.
It does sound like bro, is Kylie Jenner releasing that? Like, is that her new lip kit?
Okay. From 1953 to 1973, the United States government conducted a series of unethical experiments, but like, when don't they?
Honestly.
Meant to figure out the best ways to manipulate the mental states of citizens, and then to develop chemical materials capable of employment in clandestine operations. Clandestine operations. Collectively, the experiments were called Project MKUltra, and were officially sponsored by the CIA. Like, of course they were, though.
That sounds like some Brave New World shit.
Yeah. Each experiment involved subjecting unknowing Americans to things like mind-altering drugs, sensory deprivation, verbal and sexual abuse, extreme isolation, hypnosis, and other forms of torture. Subjects were found at universities and in hospitals and prisons. Fortunately, Project MKUltra was ultimately shut down by Congress.
Wow.
What a great ending.
Or is that what they're just telling us?
Is it still going on?
And we don't know.
Well,
Happening to us?
Probably.
Maybe that's what we're talking about.
This was during the Cold War, right? You know, I believe it. Cold War was crazy.
Yeah.
I just think it's I don't know.
They were trying to probably figure out to fight against
that's
it.
That's what I'm trying to think of. That's what.
I mean, again, like we said before, they weren't going about it in the best way.
None of these people are going about things in the right way. That's the whole point of this. I don't even know. I wish I could say I'm surprised.
But at this point,
But at this point, you could literally be oh, we're in the Matrix, and I'd probably be you know what, that sounds legit.
I'd buy it. Alright then, what's the next one? The Aversion Project.
Honestly, these names. There has to be a whole
there's a whole
department just for names.
During the apartheid era in South Africa, Army Colonel, I don't like that word, and psychologist Dr. Aubrey Levin.
Whenever there's mention of a psychologist, I'm just
Except, you don't really want to, aspire to these.
No, I don't aspire to these. I'm just wow, that's what I want to do.
Conduct these kinds of experiments, right?
No, I want to be a psychologist.
And lobotomize children.
No.
Melanie, stop exposing her.
Melanie, this is too much exposing. This is my first time.
Anyway, psychologist Dr. Aubrey Levin was put in charge of curing the country's homosexuals.
Wait, in South Africa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought you just had to pray the gay away.
Thousands of homosexuals were imprisoned at the... Oh god, that's a huge word.
You want me to help?
Please. It's Vortekerhoed.
It's probably a foreign,
is
it's
foreign.
Military.
South African. At a military.
We'll just say at the redacted military hospital near Pretoria. While there, they were subjected to electrovulsive aversion therapy, meant to reorient them. During this cruel therapy, homosexual men were shown pictures of naked males, then encouraged to fantasize before being subjected to severe shocks. When apartheid finally ended, Levin left South Africa to avoid being named an abuser of human rights. He emigrated to Canada and currently works in a teaching hospital.
What the fuck?
He got away with it.
This reminds me of the movie, what was it called? It's the cheerleader movie, but I'm a cheerleader. Have you guys never seen that movie?
No.
They send her to,
Oh, wait.
conversion
Yeah. Saved. I think it's called Saved.
That one. It wasn't called Saved. It was called...
I lied. It wasn't called Saved.
No. It's a movie about the girl from Orange is the New Black. She's gay, and her parents tell her. The parents are the ones who come out for her. They're like, "Hey, you're gay, so we're sending you to a gay conversion camp or whatever." And
Was she actually gay?
Yeah, she was gay.
Oh, okay.
She was hella gay, but yeah, no, that's just sad because obviously it was a comedy movie, but that's just real,
It really is real, and people don't realize that there's these camps are still around,
Mhm.
and it's just
A lot of them kind of get away with it too.
Mhm.
a lot of them get away with it because a lot of these kids, they're kids, they're minors,
They really don't know what to
and
say.
the parents are not only that, but the parents are obviously the ones who can make decisions for their kids, and so they're no, I'm gonna take you out of school and you're gonna go to this anti-gay camp and pray the gay away, or be shocked, or have a lobotomy.
Oh my
You know,
God.
and it's just crazy that this still goes on. I think I don't know, it's just crazy.
I'm just gonna go ahead and get to the next one because this one I just read the title and I was like, oh, unnecessary sexual reassignment.
Oh. We've talked a little bit about this in biopsych.
At 7 months old, David Peter Reiner's penis was
Wait. This is the one where his
I don't know yet.
His
Don't
pee-pee
spoil it.
got
Don't
burned off?
spoil it.
Oh,
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
At 7 months old, David Peter Reimer's penis was accidentally maimed during a routine circumcision. Dr. John Money, a psychologist studying the idea that gender is learned, convinced that the Reimer family that their son was now more likely to reach a successful maturation if he were sexually reassigned as female. Over the years, Dr. Money continued to report that the reassignment had been nothing but successful, though he apparently failed to consult David. Before he committed suicide at the age of 38, David insisted that he had never identified as female and described a childhood during which he was teased, cruelly ostracized by his peers, and was extremely depressed.
No, to this day, that doctor still says like it was a success. Cause like we studied this in biopsychology when like looking at like sex and whatnot, and cause you know there's like the whole like androgynous and like intersex and whatnot, and so we looked at this and it was like this is a really big study that goes with like nature versus nurture, because that doctor believed that it was all about like the nurture, like what environment you were being brought up in. And so he was like, oh yeah, like if this child is brought up as a girl, then they will act like a girl, and like this like helped us know like now that like that's not the case. It's like a combination of both. And like this person like always like how you said like identified as a male, they always like were with their brothers because they had like older brothers and stuff, and it's just like crazy. And like what they don't tell you in that story was that like the doctor that was supposed to do the circumcision that day like wasn't there, and the nurse was like, LMAO, I'm gonna do it. And then like that's how
my
they
God.
messed up.
I saw that shit on Oprah. Yeah, no, it was really sad because like it like showed like, you know, like the like what happened, like
He
tells you
died.
about it.
He died relatively young too.
Yeah, but like they like actually interviewed this guy, and like he was saying like this doctor like really messed me up, you know, and like I'm still dealing with like the ramifications of like that.
And he
sex
ultimately
change.
ended up committing suicide.
And like the doctor still was like, oh yeah, it was nothing but successful, like I'm the best doctor. And it's like no.
Also, before we go to the next one, which is your favorite one? We literally just talked about it.
Oh my god.
You said my name again.
I'm sorry. You
Anyway.
can like bleep it out.
Yeah.
Do you cut it out?
Now,
Killing now.
Melanie, grab the shovel.
It's the first and last time I will be featured.
Okay, ready? The Stanford prison experiment. Never have I seen anyone more excited.
I love talking about abuse.
Same. The Stanford prison experiment, perhaps one of the most famous experiments ever conducted, took place in August of 1971. The purpose of the experiment was to study the causes of conflict between prisoners and those who guarded them. 24 male students were randomly assigned the roles of either guard or prisoner, and then set up according to their role in a specifically designed model prison located in the basement of the psychology building on Stanford's campus. It soon became apparent that those who had been given the role of guard were taking their job very seriously. They began to enforce harsh measures and subjected their prisoners to various degrees of psychological torture. If that's surprising, perhaps it is even more surprising that many of the prisoners in the experiment simply accepted the abuses. The authoritarian measures adopted by the guards became so extreme that the experiment was abruptly stopped after just 6 days.
It be like that sometimes.
Oh my God.
No, honestly, like, the Stanford Prison Experiment movie is one that everyone should watch. It has Rico from Hannah Montana in it. But aside from that, also the doctor who ran it was actually like a consultant on the film to make sure it was like as accurately as possible. But this is definitely one of my favorite experiments just because of how fucked up it was and how much we learned from it. Because I think like, I don't know, we were learning about it in class, right? And like people were like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And I was like, yeah, you would. Like, you know, like, I feel like we're trying to protect ourselves by being
like you want to tell yourself that you wouldn't do that kind of thing, but
like, I will admit that, like, I would do it, and like anyone would do it, you know, like it's like that thing where it's, I don't know,
where
like
power gets to your head, power corrupts. Is
like
that it?
honestly, like not like exactly that, but like it's a form of that, and it's just like honestly, like anyone would do it, and it's just like it's like scary in a way, but it's also like I don't know. There's so many different questions that like that can pose, not pros.
Well, because like the way that I see it is like I'd like to think that I wouldn't do that stuff, but it's like
Maybe.
if yeah, like if like everybody's doing it, like obviously like I'll feel pressure or something like that. I don't know. This is why they don't do things like this anymore.
Yeah, because then like humans realize how fucked up we are. Because it's like you would like to be like, oh no, like I would
I'm
never,
so innocent.
like I would never do that. But it's like, hunty, yes you would, and like I'm sorry to tell you that you would, but you would. And even like if you interview, because there's been like multiple like things where like they go back and they talk to like the prisoners and like the guards, and the guards are like, honestly, like I don't know what I like I don't know why I did that, because like they would like be like really mean to them, like they would like abuse them like physically, and like that was one of the things that they told them like that they couldn't do. They were like, you can't hit them, and then like they hit them, and then the prisoners were like, you can't hit us, but like the
they just kept going? Is that what happened?
They just kept on going, and then like because they were like, no, because if we tell them they can't hit them, then we're in a way restricting their power or whatever. And like they didn't want that, so they just like let them do whatever they wanted, and like it was crazy. And then like this poor guy, all he wanted was his glasses, and like
oh my god.
And I remember he was like, all I want are my glasses, if I don't have them I get headaches or whatever. And they were like, oh no, like this and that, telling him like all these things. And then, like, he helped them with something. He, like, helped the guards with, like, a riot that, like, the prisoners were doing or whatever. And then they gave it to him.
Oh, damn.
And, like, they were like, oh, this is what you get for, like, helping us. And then, like, all the prisoners were, like, pissed at them. And, like, the guards would do that. Like, there was an instance where, like, yeah, like, if you help them or whatever, they would, like, give you food or
so, like, pit them against each other.
Yeah, pit them against each other. Like, this experiment just, like, really went to show you, like, humans, man, we be
by nature we're terrible people. We're
awful.
You know, like sometimes I just hear about like stories like this, and I'm like, you know what, Satan, I get you. I get it.
Satan's my homeboy.
LMAO, I get it.
There's a lot of things that isn't covered here, which is like I'm probably going to continue making another bigger video on this.
You can make a part 2.
To be continued?
Be like, oh my gosh, you should be like the vlog squad, or like Shane Dawson, and be like, if this video gets 2 likes,
oh my god.
Or you could be like, if this video doesn't get any dislikes.
I usually don't, surprisingly.
So then just be like, request like 2 likes. Or like, how many subscribers do you have?
I have 6,000 something.
Request like 10 likes.
That's reasonable.
I'm gonna create it either way. Whatever.
You don't.
This is the 3rd time.
Child.
Channel 0.
Channel 0.
You're like, everyone just like colloquially decided to call me 0. I was
0?
like, okay. Even though the character didn't have a name, I was just like, oh, this is Channel 0. That's what the
0. You didn't have to expose yourself like that. If you hadn't have said you were gonna make it anyways, then you could have gotten likes. That's the whole like YouTuber ploy.
See, but I'm not shady. No offense.
You're gonna be on all the drama channels.
Hey, that's the point. Then I'll get more subscribers.
Tea spill.
Oh my god, fun fact.
Rich
right?
Lux.
There's like really fun fact. There was another smaller drama channel that like a reason why I got to 1,000 subscribers was because that small drama channel was like, hey guys, look at this guy. He does good videos.
Oh, that's
and that happened, yeah.
Oh my gosh, like, shout them out.
His name was like Dustin Daly.
Dustin Daly? I watch him!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I watched Dustin Daly!
Did you ever realize, like, oh, Channel 0 something like that? Did you see that?
He like tweeted it out. I was like, who's this Dustin Daly fellow?
No, I like dead ass watch his videos. Like, I watch his videos. Oh my gosh.
She had Justin Daly.
Oh my gosh, Dustin Daly. If you're watching this, I love you. And I watch all your videos. And I love how you like try to keep things like unbiased. Love you, kisses. Mwah.
Oh my god. Anyway, he was great. He was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Was, I mean is. I don't know.
You're like, was he like dies tomorrow?
I mean, fucking murder. Don't include that.
Don't include that.
To me.
Strike that from the record. Strike.
Just delete it.
Friggin'.
Just been to strike. I have a stroke. Words. Anyway, the Milgram experiment.
How many more are we going to do of these?
We're gonna keep going. What do you have, guys? This could be our last one because I'm just trying to at least 40 minutes.
4 minutes. I heard 40 minutes for some reason.
Yeah.
40?
Yeah, we're at 37.
Oh shit! Really? Oh my gosh, we should like give a background on ourselves because I know about the Milgram experience.
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 The Milgram experience.
Yeah, I feel like that should be saved for the next video.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
We're teases. We're what is called a tease.
But you almost made me spit out my gut.
You're such a tease.
Anyway, in 1961, 3 months after Nazi Adolf Eichmann.
This is the study I was telling you about. The one with the electric shocks. Oh my gosh.
Went on trial for war crimes. Yale University psychologist Stanley Milgram wondered how it was possible that Eichmann and his million accomplices in the Holocaust were just following orders. That's the one.
I told you.
Yeah. To figure out if such a thing were possible, Milgram set up an experiment meant to measure an individual's willingness to obey an authority figure. In the experiment, 2 participants, one of which was secretly an actor, were separated in 2 rooms where they could only hear each other. The test subject then read a series of questions to the actor. Each time the actor would answer the question incorrectly, the test subject would push a button that administered an electric shock to the actor. Although many of the test subjects expressed a desire to stop the experiment at the first signs of screams, nearly every single one of them continued to push the button when they were told they would not personally be held responsible for any of the consequences.
This
That's
is the one I
so-
told you
yeah.
that we're not allowed to do shit like this anymore because it fucks people up because they like can't believe that like they would do that.
There's another one of those that, like, again, we literally just talked about it, where it's like,
Yeah.
where humanity sucks.
And it's like, no, homie G, like, you did that. You went there, you killed someone, like, accept it and move on. Don't let that shit happen again. I don't know. I feel like people are like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I would kill someone. And it's like, not that it's in our nature, but like, if there's a sandwich and it's
I like
the
where this
last
analogy's going.
sandwich in the world, and it was like you, Melanie, and I'm gonna like team up with Melanie and kill you like, to get this sandwich.
You know what?
And then you
Like,
kill me so you can have sandwich for
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly.
you know what? I understand.
I think we would all do the same.
But it's just like human nature. And I just think like we are animals. Like I think that like people forget that like we ourselves are animals, you know? And it's like we have opposable thumbs and like
That's the only thing that really makes, aside from, our self-awareness.
yeah, and it's just like I don't know, like at the end of the day, like we're animals and like if like it comes down to it, like everyone has that point I feel where like you would kill someone for something, like whatever that point may be. It's obviously different for everyone, but like I don't know, my mom told me that like if someone were to kill me, like she would kill that person. And like
Damn.
Is that why she said she would kill your sister?
yeah.
What's that story?
You know what?
don't
We don't
say
talk
it.
about that. So yeah.
Well, I think this is the end. I don't really know how to end a podcast.
Okay, guys, make sure to like and subscribe.
What do we even call this? Like, real talk. I don't even know. I don't even know. It has to be like a clever name. Like off script. It's technically something horror related too, right? R-rated.
We could have it chilling convos. with the hose.
It doesn't sound scary.
But it sounds catchy.
It's gotta be scary and catchy.
Jordy, I'm not gonna use
Fourth.
Do we need like squad name now? Like for just
the vlog squad.
No,
And
no.
it's like
like the murder squad.
I like that actually.
you know what you should do? You should involve your audience.
What's her name? What's her name gonna be?
We should.
Audience, what do you guys think?
What does the audience believe that the name should be?
Okay, yeah. Since the next one I probably won't come back here for like a month, or maybe whenever Melanie decides to have you back.
Whenever I have another breakdown.
So like next week.
Yeah.
And tomorrow.
Okay, so then I'll leave it to the audience. You guys can decide to give us a name if you decide to stay this long for this 42, probably gonna hit 43-minute long like podcasting.
You know what? I would listen to this while I'm on Instagram to make me feel less lonely. So, if that's what you're here doing, I feel you, honey. Like
We're here for you.
we're here for you. I love you.
Thank you all for watching. I'm gonna have to go edit this and bleep up 4 times. Someone said my name.
I'm sorry.
Don't forget all the cuss words.
I'll leave them in. I don't care. I don't care if it's this one's monetized, honestly.
Wow. Okay.
A king, a demonetization king.
You know, I wanted
I'm
to
also,
cut, but
like-
it's fine.
Huh?
I wanted to cut as well, but it's fine.
I mean, like, I can, but you guys just
It's
curse
true.
so much.
No,
Okay.
we'll see how this one does.
Okay, we'll see how this one does, and then...
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably like 2 people are gonna watch it.
Nah,
To
I
those
argue a
2
little
people,
more.
Like
to
they
those-
watch the first 10 seconds and it's like shit's
Dr.
so
Bright, Dr. Bright, I know you're watching.
to these 2 people, I love you, honey.
I get at least an average of 100, 200 watching. Depending on the video. If it's like a really good video, it's a lot of people watch.
Damn, like
That
still
Disney
listening?
one.
Like,
I know, right? I'm like, you're still watching? Why?
Whoopsh.
Anyway, that's where it's gonna end. Just gonna end it off.